So if you're not a metalhead, that song is 1,000 Horsepower by Godsmack. That is sometimes what my staff feels working with me. I'm the guy driving around the track really fast, and I have to stop, and they have to slow me down or take the wheels off the car. So I don't have any slides, so you're going to be stuck looking at me or maybe something with a few of our company logos. I just tell stories. So me, I am the president of Allied Mechanical Services. Underneath that is 4 other businesses: Air Components, ControlNet, Third Coast Test and Balance, and 4340 is the newest business we just started. My leadership journey is different. I thought someday in my life I was going to be somebody someday, so I went to high school, obviously, and then college, and my guidance counselor has always told me, you have to go to college to be somebody someday. They told me that from day one. So I did what normal Dutch people do, West Michigan, K-Christian graduate. I went off to Calvin College. I see some people cheering back there. I'm not a fan of the place. I like the people that work for me that went there, but I was not a fan of the place. So I went there. I lasted 1 semester. Now, I will say this. I am a 3rd generation in our business. My grandpa started Allied Mechanical in 1965. My dad then took over for him in 83, my dad and my uncle. And then after that, I think it was 5 years ago, I took over. Now, it's not just me at Allied Mechanical. There is a whole army, a team of us, of other owners that make us successful and do what we do. So, back to my story. I jump around a lot. I have the attention span of a gnat, so just stay focused. I know most men have the attention span of about 10 minutes, but when there's food ready to be eaten, it's probably 5. So I'll talk fast. So I drop out of college, and I enter the trades. So now I have 1 strike against me. 1, I was told I wouldn't be anything because I dropped out of college. 2, I just joined a family business that I was being defined as John Huizinga's son, who was the current president, who was the president, my dad. So now I am entering the trades with some serious self-esteem issues because what I was told, what was ingrained in me. So I kind of thought, well, the next best thing to do to get rid of these self-esteem issues, why not just become an alcoholic? I mean, that's how you bury it. So yes, I'm going to try and get through this without crying right here. I am a grateful recovering alcoholic. And that is one of the main things that has shaped my leadership journey. Admitting weakness, asking for help, true strength comes from these things. It's part of who we are at Allied Mechanical. And when I first took over the reins from my dad, now I will say this, there's the alcoholism. There's a whole bunch of drama, the 10 years while I was drinking. I mean, I am a 2-time felon, 5 DUIs. I didn't have a driver's license for 9 years. So I don't have a normal leadership journey. I have a unique story that's also given me perspective to in different ways and how we can continuously improve our culture at Allied. So through that addiction journey, I spent time in jail. I didn't have a license for 9 years, which is a struggle. It's hard. It's hard to ask people for help. And so when I took over, one of the first things we really wanted to start embracing at Allied was admit weakness, admit failure, and ask for help. And that was kind of our vision internally for a long time, because plumbers, pipe fitters generally are males, and they're generally rough, tough people. But man, there is so much hurt and brokenness in that group of people. And that's where we really wanted to embrace, how can we help them? How can we, there's that old statement, leave your work life at work and your home life at home. That never happens. It always comes together. And our goal at Allied is, how can we be a partner with them when they're struggling personally? So that was our initial, when I took over, that was kind of our initial vision. Not just me. Like I said, there's other owners. I have another executive. His name's Dave. He is the CPA. We're equals. Everybody needs a good CPA, because if I didn't have one, I'd probably give all the money away or spend it all. And there's other owners in the business too, and they are a key piece of what we do. Like I said, I'm the president. It doesn't mean I'm the one doing all this. There's a whole team behind us. So after that, we kind of saw our culture. And by the way, if anybody knows a better word for culture, let me know, because I hate that word. It's used all the time. So if anybody has one, let me know. I'll buy you lunch anywhere you choose. I just don't like overused phrases, and it's just that word just bugs me right now. It likes like thinking outside the box. I mean, we always say we think in the box, because that's how you can be different. So, I hear a lot of people saying you got to know not just the what, you got to know the why. You do what you do. And our why right now, and I truly believe that a company's vision doesn't need to stay the same. You get to a point where your people and your culture is doing what they should be doing, well, what next? So the first vision we had was admitting failure and weakness, asking for help. We started to feel our culture was embracing that, and we decided to say, okay, what next? And what next was we wanted to start changing people's lives through employment. That's our vision right now. That is what we're doing. So, I like stories. 5 years ago, Bethany Christian approached us, and if any of you are on LinkedIn, you probably saw the post I had about a Syrian refugee. If not, look it up. We brought in a Syrian refugee to come work for us. Didn't speak English. I was told he has some skills at welding. So we hired him. Now, the interesting thing is, I didn't know how my culture was going to take this. I now have a Muslim working in a male, white-dominated environment. I was scared, but I thought, you know what, we're going to do this and we're going to figure it out. I think the biggest barrier we had and the hardest thing we had was every one of my supervisors wanted to kill me because, one, they didn't like technology and they had to learn how to use Google Translate, which is an amazing thing. So we brought him in. We started to work with them on English. My people did. Our people. I shouldn't use that word, my. I don't like that word. Our people did. And I remember going up to one of my welders and just saying in our Kalamazoo shop and saying, hey, how's Mo doing? And he said, oh, he's doing great. So's his family. I thought, well, what do you mean his family? He said, oh, we stopped over, brought their whole family housewarming gifts. They invited a whole group of my welders and employees in, and Mo's wife cooked them dinner. And I just thought, okay, they get this. Like, they see, like, the vision, what we're doing. You can see it starting to transmit through the culture. So we helped Mo. We helped him get a license. Syrians can't drive worth a crap. Relative to how we drive, I mean, I like how they drive. It's fast and don't obey any traffic signs and just go. I think it's a beautiful thing. We helped him get his license, then we helped him. We gave him a vehicle for a little while. And then we worked him through buying his own house. And then just recently, he passed the citizenship test, which was pretty interesting. As in my post on LinkedIn, I talked about how we helped him. And I didn't really realize we helped him until one day I was walking around our shop, and there's these papers sitting around. I said, what are all these history questions for? Our team members are walking by him. Every time they walk by him, asking him a question on that citizenship test. Our people are amazing. Just let me embrace the emotion for a little bit. I knew it was going to happen. So as I was hearing everybody speak and hearing Nate talk about the new citizens, we deal a lot with new citizens. We deal with returning citizens. Given my past, I hire just about anybody, anytime, anywhere. So in 2019, because of just the efforts we'd naturally been doing, we won a National Diversity Award without even trying. We won it before it was cool to do diversity, which we always joke about, before it was a thing. And the reason we won it is because the legacy my dad, or my grandpa, my dad, my uncle left. Care for all people, meet them where they're at, and love all people. So we just carried on what they did, and naturally it brings diversity in. And we won an award. So we win this award, and we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. 6 months ago, we get a letter from the Michigan Department of Civil Liberties that we laid a 17-year employee off, and he filed a complaint with the EOC also that said we discriminated against him, we laid him off because he's black. So talk about a kick in the teeth. We thought, we're doing all this good work. How could somebody actually do this? And then, of course, we had to see, did we do this? Now, I'm sharing this with you because even though we do good work, there's still failures. And there's still things that happen. Now, we didn't fail. There was not anything found that we were guilty of. So now I have a black employee who's laid off right now, and he's looking for something. I don't know what, but he filed a false accusation against us on his perception. Just about every lawyer out there would tell you, just leave him laid off and let him go. Well, we don't do that. I hired him back, brought him back right away. As soon as we got the charges, 2 weeks later, I brought him back. Because I don't know what state of mind that man's in. I don't know perception. I don't know his perception. I can't put myself in his shoes. He could have been having a bad day. We all have them. So we hired him back. Most people said, you got to be nuts because you're looking for a lawsuit. I said, well, maybe. But that could happen from any employee at any time. So we brought him back. And the guy's killing it. He's happier than he's ever been. Do I think there could be something later on? I don't know, but we're willing to take risks on people. Our DEI journey, which I don't like the word DEI because it puts the thing you should do last first. We like to use, I plagiarized the crap out of this from somebody else, JEDI, justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. As we're talking about returning citizens, or we're talking about new citizens, I challenge everyone in here, do you have an inclusive environment? Are you ready for that? Does somebody walk in your organization right away, they know who you voted for? Because if they do know who you voted for, then you're not being inclusive. You just ruled out half the population. Our team at Allied, we are very, very careful. We stay out of politics. We keep politics over there. We're not a political organization. We're an organization that's meant to change people's lives through employment. You won't know which way I voted unless you want to sit down and talk with me. The other part about our journey with DEI is we really started looking at what's the equitable piece. Where are the barriers we face? So being a guy who didn't have a driver's license for 9 years, and when we noticed on our applications, it's do you have a driver's license and do you have a dependable vehicle? So in the construction trades, one of the things you struggle with is our job sites are all over. They are never in one spot. They move all over. We're in the large commercial, industrial, manufacturing world. So we travel most of the time from wherever you live. You're traveling 40, 50 miles one way per day. So we came up with, and you can probably look it up in the Business Journal, we decided we're going to remove that barrier for employment, and we're going to offer a vehicle program. Because that is a barrier right now people face. And if I think about my past, I'm going to use a couple words here that are going to rile a bunch of you up because you're all white. Most of you are white males. My privilege, like I said, I'm using a word. If I use blessed in West Michigan, it's the same dang thing, but you'd probably feel better about it, right? My privilege wasn't, I was afforded, where I was born into, the family I was born into, I didn't choose. I also didn't choose their socioeconomical status. So I was born into a family that taught me the value of what a driver's license is. They took me, they made me get driver's ed. Then after that, they pushed me toward a vehicle. And we recognize that there are so many people out there that don't know they weren't afforded the same privilege, blessed as I was. So we wanted to remove that barrier at Allied, and that's what we did. We started a vehicle program. That they come work for us, and within 6 months, we're going to give them a discretionary bonus, and they will be able to go buy a vehicle. So that's how we started to remove the barriers, little by little, to make things more equitable. Another thing we are really passionate about is giving a guy who spent time behind bars, not a ton of time, 9 different stays, all for short stays. Sometimes I break the ice with my recovery journey or story just by saying I'm allergic to alcohol. Every time I drink, I break out in handcuffs. It just breaks the ice a little easier than just saying I'm an alcoholic. So we started partnering with a program called Vocational Village. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. It's based out of Ionia, and then there's a new one that just opened up in Ypsilanti. It is taking returning citizens and employing them, giving them gainful employment. And the training facility they have there and what they do is absolutely amazing. If you want a tour, they will give you tours. My HR and myself go there numerous times. It's one of the funnest things I get to do as a CEO. I know it sounds weird. It sounds like I should be looking at some financial documents, making 10-year plans for the business. No, I'm going to a prison. I'm interviewing people because that's way more fun. So this village, these people that are in there, they all have outdates. They're all trained phenomenally. When they get out, they are mentored and they're ready to go and hit the workforce. One thing I don't like, but you'll see it, we talk about it, is non-traditional hiring. Which right now, hiring that Syrian refugee was considered non-traditional. Hiring a prisoner out of Vocational Village, non-traditional. We want to keep sharing our stories. And the funny thing is, I had a list of stories I could choose from. That the number of stories I have, we would love to see this isn't just non-traditional. This is just what you do and how you take care of people. Another interesting fact about Allied is we don't run background checks till after they're hired. Because we don't care what you were, we care about what you're going to be. I have murderers working for me. I have CSCs working for me. I have people that have armed robbers working for me. And for some of you out there that maybe Allied does work for you, it probably scares the living crap out of you that some of them might be on your job site. But trust me, they're good people. So as we keep progressing and keep looking at doing things at Allied and continually pushing the diversity, equity, inclusion piece, and how do we find new talent, part of our drive in this is, I don't know, there's a stat out there right now, 50% of the construction workforce is going to retire in the next 10 years. So we're trying to get ahead of the game in this. We're trying to get ahead of that labor pool. We're trying to make sure when all that stuff that's happening at Banff and they need us to build the buildings, I have the manpower to do it, or GVSU. Because the fact of the matter is, for this place to grow, you still need us down and dirty construction workers. Because you need buildings and you need them all to work. So right now, that's why we're really focusing on where we're pulling our people from. And it's just being normal now. One thing with us, too, I would say is you do need a kick-ass HR department. Most HRs are risk-adverse. They want to judge people by what's on one or two sides of a resume and then throw them to the side. Last week, Thursday, or 2 weeks ago Thursday, I was at a women's prison in Ypsilanti interviewing some young ladies. Two of them have no business in my business, but I hired them. I don't care. They just need a chance. And we actually don't care if they're successful with us. It sounds weird, but our goal is if they're not successful with us, we can be a bridge. We can give them this employment for when they get out of prison. They can take that next step to being successful. So we hire these two young ladies, and then I go and I usually walk around and look at all the classes, look at what they're learning, and usually I speak to a couple of them. There's a young lady in there, and she raised her hand and asked, what are the chances I can be hired by Allied Mechanical Services? And she said, is it 10%, 15%? And now, mind you, I don't know this lady. I don't know what her charge is. I don't know what her background is. I just said 100% you're hired. You get out in October, we'll hire you. So now getting back to HR. Most HRs are squirming in their seats because what do you know about this person? I called up my HR and said, well, this is what I did. And just so everybody understands how I operate with my foot through the floorboards with the gas. I have a tremendous team that supports me and slows me down. So I called her up and I told her I hired somebody. Erin said, what is she going to do? Where is she going to work? I said, I don't know. She said, okay, well, this will be fun. Now I'm going to use an example here. She's here in the room. She doesn't know this story's coming because it just happened yesterday. I got a phone call from a teacher at Forest Hills Eastern that because I speak at a lot of high schools, her son's struggling with heroin. He just got out of rehab, dropped out of Ferris, has got a computer science degree, and just can't seem to find a job. And I said, well, let's eliminate that. He's hired. I know nothing about this man. Aaron, what are we going to do? Yeah, that's exactly it. Let's go. So I'll leave you with this. There's 2 minutes left. Of course, I'm the one right by the food. I'm in the way of you getting to food. I didn't really know how I was going to close. No idea. I didn't really know what I was going to say till I got up here. I just kind of took what everybody else was saying and kind of just kind of thought I'd just share some stories. But let's make Grand Rapids a place where hiring and supporting people who aren't citizens, getting them their citizenships. Let's make that normal. Let's make this a place where everybody here has an inclusive environment, everybody gets an equitable chance. That's where I can see this city can be great. So thank you for your time.